talk about this with you. So is that okay if we end the show reminiscing the back half of Fallout on Amazon season 1?
Absolutely.
Okay, full spoilers. If you've not seen the show, that is on you at this point. We've said every time we're just going to discuss the show. I want to say you've been playing Fallout 4. Is that right? Have you caught up on any more this week? Since we last talked.
I've played a little. I've played a little bit more. I've learned what it's like to be encumbered with too much stuff. I've figured out how to store it in workbenches, and still at the beginning. But there was an honest trailer that came out this week for the Fallout series.
I'm not gonna watch it yet.
I'm
excited.
There's some insidery video game jokes in it, but I was just like, oh, I kind of understand some of these a little bit more now because I've played a little bit more of the game.
Yeah. Couple things. As a TV show, Fallout is like a 6 out of 10 for me. To be completely transparent, in the back half, it's a Jonathan Nolan thing, and I love Westworld. I like watching Westworld. But as a whole, if you don't have the video game surroundings, this sets up too many mystery boxes and too many questions that they never answer or even attempt to answer throughout the show, right? Like, the whole show opens with the main guy, the ghoul, being at a birthday party doing the horse thing, right? Because he's been labeled a communist at some point. And never once in his 200 years that he's been on here do we uncover why he's a communist at any point in this show. They actually leave it on a bigger cliffhanger because he was listening to his wife say, we need to drop the bombs to ensure Vault-Tec maintains power, right? There's a lot more questions. And I will say, I hated every time they went to the sandy desert and used the same 4 broken buildings as like a way to say you're not in a city, you're out in the open. And I'm like, this is the same shot from a different angle, over and over again.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I wanted to touch on that, but you were still working your way through this series. Yeah. Like, this is a very expensive show, and you watched episode 2 obviously because you finished it, and they had that whole Old West town and you have like the power armor there. You have this elaborate set of all this like junk built up. You have all of these shacks. Everything felt very physical set, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I love that. And then everyone's traversing in the middle of nowhere, and it's like, I get it. A nuke has gone off plenty of times in Los Angeles, and it keeps like evaporating everything, but like visually it's boring as hell, right? And also kind of stretching the credibility of finding things as well, especially since I've been playing the video game. Like, really, they walk into one, like, I guess it's like a doctor's office that's like half filled with sand, and there's stuff inside of the cabinet. Like, there's no stuff left in there.
Yeah, right. Well, exactly. Even then, if that guy was like, oh, step into my office, he hasn't made that his office because it's too visible from the outside. Like, a lot of these people to survive, and that guy was funny because he was a chicken fucker, and I thought that was hilarious, and he kept coming back. But like, these people who are trying to live aren't doing it very smartly. They're just kind of happenstancing along the way. I really didn't like the final scene set either, like where like the cold fusion's going off and they can see out into the valley of Los Angeles, right? And it's getting nighttime. I'm like, this looks kind of rough. I would say the money was spent well on like making Walton Goggins look like a ghoul with his nose off, and then all the other stuff. But like, there are parts where I'm like, the scenes could have been written better, and then therefore the scene dressing would be much better around it as well. But
let's touch on this MacGuffin because I was thoroughly confused about it. Mm-hmm. And I think I have a more of a positive view of the show overall than you. I think that's.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just think it's probably stemming a little bit more from the fact that I don't really have any connection to the lore of the video games. So when I go into it, I'm not really expecting anything to be achieved well. I'm just like, okay, let's see what's going on here.
So don't take me wrong. I think as a Fallout show, it's like an 8.5. As a regular show, if it didn't have the Fallout dressing, it falters even farther because of everything. Yeah. And that's where I say, I'm like, Fallout's fun. It's great. It's got the dressing. Like, I understand it more, but like, if you removed everything, I'm like, this show is just okay at the end of the day. And it suffers from that. But like, the cold fusion thing, right? Whereas the dudes had they need it to power, Shady Sands forever or something like that. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, it's just I don't really I don't really understand the scarcity of electricity, because we've been you go through this whole show and there's lots of electronics happening, right? These entire Fallout shelters are being run by like fusion cores, right? They seem to be such a rare commodity of like these things that can run these places for like 200 plus years, right? Mm-hmm. And we see evidence at the very beginning of the show that raiders can get in under certain means, and people know that these shelters exist, but they're all under the ground. It just seems like more effort would be happening for people on the surface to get into these vaults to get those fusion cores, because this person has spent their entire existence trying to get this cold fusion one off the ground, which I'm guessing is just a more souped up version or a better version.
Yeah, the regular
of the fusion cores.
The regular fusion cores can power the suits and the vaults, and those last forever. But like the cold fusion lights up an entire city, right? You saw almost all of LA light up on one.
It just seems like the entire wasteland of Mad Max is 100% motivated on like these resources like gasoline or water, depending on whatever one that you're watching, right? It just seems like people on the surface in Fallout are just like, seems like they're getting along just fine, right? But, things are just kind of scarce, and you might get eaten by some sort of big monster or something. Yeah. It just felt like, where is like the disparity that we need this giant piece of electricity, to get things going? It just kind of seems like they're in a situation of just like, I don't know, like go find like an oil rig and start pumping oil again. Like it just seems weird that over 200 years they haven't like figured out something else. So it just seems weird to revolve your entire season around this cold fusion thing that I just don't care about.
I disagree. I think you can have it, but the reason you don't know what it is and you don't know why they need to get it there the entire show, right? They don't tell you why this is important. They just say this is important, get it there. They don't tell you what the benefit of this is at the end of the day, right? Like bringing society back and spitting in the face of the Vault Tech. We're like, yeah, we got to kill everyone so we can start over fresh with only Vault Tech, trusted employees. Yeah, that's fine. But like, they don't say like, we can't do that if they have power or if they're living normally, right? And that is part in the show. There's a lot of mysteries. Why is Moldaver alive 200 years later? Did she freeze herself? Or she's not a ghoul. She didn't turn into a ghoul. So why is she still from the ghoul's past and still alive to do this and then die? Like, there is no real reason of why we're trying to get there other than like we need it, but not the why we need it at the end of the day.
Yeah, it would have to be something like that. I mean, there's a lot of things that stick out from this show that I didn't like, but overall, I think there's some fun, enjoyable things from the world of Fallout that I like seeing adapted to live action. And I kind of get the feeling that maybe a second season is going to expand a lot on more characters. I'd like to see new, fresh, interesting faces, because the one thing that I've learned about Fallout after watching the show is there's so many varied experiences across the world and, especially the United States where the games have really been focused. And I find that very interesting, and I want to see what they do with it.
Well, they had one town called Philly, and then they also had Shady Sands, but Shady Sands was a vault, technically, than a town, right? So we didn't really get to see any towns anywhere other than Philly. And that was like in episode 2, right? So why don't we get to see these other towns and all the other people that have created these? Because when you play Fallout, you're running from town to town, like encampment to encampment, right? And that's where you're going to come across those characters. So we didn't really get to live anywhere other than Philly, and they had some really cool characters in Philly, right? The lady who gave him the leg and their helper and all the other fun stuff. So hopefully in season 2 they do this, but give us more answers than questions at the end of the like. They're just questions you set up, and we don't even follow up on those threads. And they're like, yeah, we expect a season 2. I don't like that. If they didn't announce a season 2 at the end of this, like a week later, I'd be even more mad at the show, because I'm like, you're setting up questions that you don't get to answer. Like, you should be answering them and setting up your next season as another question rather than, oh, we're going to be adding those questions to more questions. And for me, it looks like the next season will be New Vegas. They really, really lean into New Vegas there at the end with Kyle MacLachlan's character in that suit going to New Vegas. So it sounds like that game will be huge on that.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell if that was supposed to be a hint at where the second season was supposed to go, or it was just supposed to be a nice payoff, like, cameo for fans, because I don't know much about what's happening in New Vegas. So when I saw Vegas and I knew that the existence of the game, I was like, oh, this is like a fun cameo.
And I think it's like New Vegas, the timeline works like the video game New Vegas is before this, so you're technically seeing post New Vegas a video game whenever we get there in the next season. So which would be interesting. Again, I like the show. I think a lot of stuff was brought to life really cool. It was there were some funny moments, there were some gory moments. I do think some of the weird, I don't like what's the company or the religion that does the mech suits, the Order, is that what they're called?
Oh, yeah.
They're a little bit weird. Some of the characters who filmed stuff in episode 1 only showed back up in episode 6. It just kind of wrapped up a little fast. I just think as a show without the Fallout dressing, it's like a 6. But when you include the Fallout stuff and you're like, okay, there is more, there's extra lore, there's fun little things, I think it does elevate it to like an 8.5. But it's hard for me to just love this show right out the gate. But it is fun. It's fun stuff, and a lot of the actors are good. I really enjoyed all the actors in this. I think they were fun. Or did a great job. I'm very interested in what's his name, the comedian dude that we talked about, who was he wasn't the knight, he was a squire, and then he became a ghoul there at the end. So like the ghouls.
Oh yeah, I can't remember that guy.
Johnny Pemberton. Johnny Pemberton. He becomes a ghoul. Like, how are people becoming ghouls in this world? That'd be interesting stuff. And I want to see more. I want to learn more about this. I think that's the great part. I just wish they didn't leave so many questions on the table without answering them before the end of the film or into the end of the show. Like, especially, I think the big reveal for me is the ghoul. He's like, "Where's my family?" Like, so that there's the implication that his wife and daughter are still alive somewhere, right out there. Even though at the beginning of the show it looked like they were getting blown up. So I'm interested to see that. And the son, her brother, is left in Vault 31 with all the other people. So how's he going to get out of that situation as well? So a lot of questions, more questions than answers. But I will watch season 2. I just wish it was just a hair more tighter on everything all around.
Yeah, well, I brought it up the other week. The Jonathan Nolan, he's not exactly somebody I'm willing to bet all my chips on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 50-50 with him. I just wish someone would have been like, we need to do better. My guess is they knew there was a season 2 coming. Like, it was greenlit well before it came out. And then, like, they were like, you need to write 2 seasons. And they should have just said, hey, there's more show coming sooner. Like, whenever they announced it, I guess. Right? Like, we're committing to several seasons of this show. And that would give us some faith. But oh well, at least he got everyone to play Fallout. That's fun. It really turned up that game's that franchise for everybody. All right, Mike, that is the episode for this week. Thank you for coming on and being with me. But if people want to